Hey guys, welcome back. So as you can probably see from the title, today we're going to be talking about the case of EDP445 or Bryant Moreland, which is his real name. And this case has been gaining a lot of attention online the past couple of days because of the past couple of weeks actually, because of a few updates that have happened with this whole case, along with those videos that some other creators have already posted. I saw that there has been some sentiment that are sympathetic, I guess, towards EDP's sort of fate now, because as we're going to discuss later, he's been driven out of all of his jobs. He's basically homeless and living out of, I think it was a car or something, and he doesn't have a job, and he's been driven out of every single place that he's tried to rent or stay at by online trolls, and obviously his online career is completely finished. And there have been some people who feel a little bit sympathetic towards him and feel a little bit sorry because of his whole situation right now. A lot of people have said that it's even worse than being in prison. So today we're just going to discuss that whole situation, and we're going to go through the timeline of events, talk about everything that has happened, and I'm going to tell you why I think that, although I think that online persecution is wrong, I don't think that the sympathy towards EDP in his specific situation is warranted, because this guy is just, if anyone deserves to be driven out of society the way that he has, I think it's probably Bryant Moreland, because this guy just has absolutely no shame and no remorse for everything that he's done. So let's get into it. So Bryant Turhan Emerson Moreland was born in December 15th, 1990, which makes him this year 21 years old, and he is known online as EDP445, which stands for Eat That Pussy, which, yeah, that's his whole brand really online. He's very vulgar, he curses a lot, and he really has no filter. He doesn't care about all of the restrictions that online platforms like YouTube or Twitter sort of put on their creators, and he doesn't care about monetization. Obviously, he literally is just very vulgar and he says whatever he wants. I'm not implying that there's anything wrong with that. I think it's great that not everyone online has a squeaky clean persona or personality all of the time. He obviously did very well with that persona because his rant videos, and he did rant videos and cooking video, a bunch of things. He was in many different communities, and he did very well for himself. His channel, before it was terminated, had over 2 million subscribers. His viewers really connected with the fact that he didn't really care about any sort of censorship or anything like that, but YouTube and Twitter obviously didn't really like that. There was this whole thing where when Bryant hit his first 1 million subscribers, he was not given his YouTube Gold play button because YouTube said that his channel didn't meet the criteria to get that play button. This caused an outrage, and a lot of people in the community sort of spoke out for him. Before this whole thing happened, he was also removed from Twitter. His account was suspended on Twitter as well because of people mass reporting him and mass flagging him. EDP445 really made his brand around being a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan. His rant videos and his vlog videos centered around being their super fan did very well for him on his channel. The first video that went viral for him was a video about the Eagles trading McCoy, and on top of being an Eagles super fan, he was also known to post very funny content about pretty crass subjects. Like there was one video about how he flooded Chipotle or something, another video about how he had like pooped on himself at school or something like that, and it was very refreshing and uncensored, and a lot of people connected to that. EDP445 built up a very strong sort of connection with his fans as well. He had a very strong fan base because he would often interact with them by getting suggestions about what video he should react to or stuff like that, and he would often, at times it was very explicit porn videos that he would react to, but it always felt like he was interacting with them and responding to them and so on. So he also had a very loyal, very steadfast fan base that he built through almost a decade, more than a decade on the internet. And especially when he was unable to get his gold play button, a subscriber actually made him like a custom made gold play button of his own. But EDP445 always was plagued with a bunch of sexual misconduct allegations, and this ranges back to, well, the first time he responded to an incident involving underage minors was in July of 2020, where Bryant himself released a video clearing up a rumor that he had been video chatting with underage minors, and this was received very well by his fans. They pushed it under the rug, and as you can see, this is a continuing pattern, that these sort of incidents would be pushed under the rug unless there was hard video evidence proof or it sort of blew up in any way. It would just slide. EDP445, because of his persona of being like very crass, loud, and very unapologetic in himself, and because of his strong sort of connection with his audience, he would be able to convince them that, oh, these are just some haters that don't like me personally, and so they're just attacking my character. And in that incident, after that first video that he released in July of 2020, his audience sort of dismissed it as being a bunch of Karens trying to take down his channel and attacking him for no reason. And then the next incident was when a creator tried to expose EDP445. So in October 14th of 2020, a YouTuber called Cold Raven released episode 8 of his series called Slaughterhouse. In the video, Cold Raven showed proof that EDP had been indeed messaging minors and showed multiple conversations of him trying to hook up with underage girls. After that video went live, Cold Raven continued to release a bunch of other evidence and showed like screenshots of him acting as an underage decoy, which EDP445 fell for. And EDP445 basically released a really strange response video to this whole accusation, where he titled it, so this video has been deleted now, but he titled it something like "My Response to Cold Raven," and it was just a video of him eating at a Wingstop. And in the middle of the video, he pulls out like a handgun or something and then cocks it and then just continues to eat his food. Obviously, this was not a response at all. It was just like a veiled threat. A few days later, like on November 17th, he was doing a live stream and he read out a donation, like a message that comes along with a donation, and was asking about this whole allegation. And his response is literally, and I'm gonna quote him, his response was, "A group of no life ass, no pussy getting motherfuckers decided to make a fuckload of fake accounts pretending to be fucking girls, and like a dumbass I fell for it, and now everyone's on the fucking pedo shit." Obviously, no remorse. He didn't think he did anything wrong. On the same day that EDP gave this response, Cold Raven actually went on Drama Alert, so Keemstar's channel, to give some insights on the situation. He basically talked about this whole situation, which provoked EDP to release 2 response videos. And in one of the response videos, he literally says, "I don't care about the law. If she's 15 to 17, it's okay as long as she's wearing skimpy clothing." So shows you the character of this guy. And then on December 11th of 2020, EDP was seen, well, he posted a picture of himself with a female fan claiming that they were dating, and this turns out to be completely false. They weren't dating at all. After that, he was caught yet again texting a minor, and this time he released another response to Cold Raven saying that he already had a girlfriend named Jessica, but he didn't plan to introduce her to his fans. So by the end of 2020, he had been caught messaging at least 8 minors, or people pretending to be minors who he thought were underage girls. The thing that sort of ended his career, the incident that ended his career, happened on April 18th of 2021, where two YouTubers, now they had been messaging EDP445 pretending to be an underage girl, a 13-year-old girl, and they specialized in like pedophile hunting. One of them was Alex Rosen, who had a channel called Chet Goldstein, or it was formerly called Predator Poachers, and CC Unit. They had been catfishing him, basically. They texted back and forth with him, and I'm going to put the text on the screen. They're very, very graphic, so a whole warning beforehand, but they basically baited him into sexting and sending explicit pictures of himself and his fecal matter and talking explicitly about sexual intercourse, thinking that he was speaking to a 13-year-old girl. So they were posing as this 13-year-old girl and messaging back and forth with him. And all throughout this text, it seemed like he knew exactly what he was doing, because several times he would type out and like send a message saying that, "Oh my gosh, this could be a scam or something, or you could be setting me up." But then he would continue to just message this girl with just disgusting things. Like, I'm going to put up the text messages because I think it's important to understand the context of this whole thing and just to paint a starker picture of this guy. But yeah, just a forewarning, it's really, really graphic. in these texts, they were able to convince EDP445 that this minor wanted to meet him to have sex in a hotel nearby. Now, I just want to put this in as a sort of, just to flesh out the context even more, and a lot of people might not like the fact that people bring this up, but I think it's important for the context. The Alex guy from Predator Poachers has been exposed as not the great person. Like, if you just look at his channel, which has now been deleted by YouTube as well, he is a racist. He says some really horrific racist stuff, really homophobic stuff, and it's very clear that his motivation behind setting up this whole sting was monetary, and he wanted to get internet clout and he wanted subscribers. He would constantly push his merch in the videos about EDP445, and he would constantly ask people to subscribe. Didn't even post the video until he knew that it could get 100% monetization, and he gained obviously hundreds of thousands of subscribers out of this whole thing. He makes some really horrific jokes as well. Like, he talks about having a girl in his basement that he would have sex with, and he says like the N-word, hard R, so obviously not the greatest guy, but still, what he did, I think nobody would say that it's not a positive thing to be exposing EDP445 like this, or at least to get more attention, put a spotlight on the stuff that EDP445 had been doing for a long time and everyone has seemed to just push under the rug. Anyway, the fallout from this was instantaneous. On April 23rd, Bryant privated all of the videos that he had on his main account and his backup account, which is called EDP445 2.0 as well. But it really didn't matter because YouTube a few days later, I think it was 3 days later after that, they deleted his main account, his main channel, EDP445, and his second channel, his backup channel, which is EDP445 2.0. But his other spin-off channels, like his cooking channel, his gaming channel, have still not been removed by YouTube yet. He also used to make money on a website called Cameo, where people paid him. He would like film a private video for them and say anything that they wanted him to say, but that was also pulled down when people mass reported him on Cameo, and he met the same fate whichever social media platform that he wanted to go to afterwards, because he would always get a bunch of trolls come to his page and they would mass report him and mass flag him and contact the people who were in charge of these websites or these social media platforms, and he would all be pulled down. He tried to set up like his own channel. He tried a few third-party channels that would host him for a little while, and then they would get flooded with just hate and reports, and they would have to pull him down, pull his page down. And he tried to move to Facebook, but that didn't work either. Facebook took him down as well. After Bryant realized that he could no longer make money on social media, he moved to trying to get jobs outside. Like, he tried to get a job as a Lyft driver at one point, driving for Uber Eats at one point. He tried to get a job at like Chuck E. Cheese. At all of those places he would be let go because people just came to mass report him. Yeah, he just couldn't hold it down. And this also happened with all the places that he stayed at. He tried to stay at like a hotel because apparently there have been reports that he blew through all of his money after his income stream had been cut from YouTube and from Cameo. Yeah, so he doesn't have any money left and he's been trying to get jobs, but he's unable to. Getting increasingly desperate, he allegedly moved out of Bakersfield, California and moved to Henderson, Nevada. Nothing he's doing is working. He can't hold down a job because of all of these trolls that are coming after him, so he tries to allegedly change his name in the state of Nevada. He had inputted a request, Clark County, which is where he was living, and apparently, according to some internet sleuths, it was successful. And EDP445 has since tried to make a plea to people on the internet to leave him alone, but it obviously didn't work because he would still get mobbed wherever people recognized him. There is a video online of him being spotted at McDonald's on August 29th in Oklahoma, and he has reportedly tried to take his own life, but he was talked out of it by a friend. Regarding the situation with the minors, there is an investigation underway by the police, but according to some sources, the investigation has been hindered by the sting that Alex did because it sort of messed with the process. I've heard some people say that with people like Chris Hansen who do Catch a Predator like this, but on like a TV show of his own, he normally works with law enforcement to catch the predator and make it sort of legal and easy for them to carry out whatever it is, whatever investigation that they're doing. But this Alex guy didn't contact the police beforehand before setting up this whole sting, so it has made the investigation a little harder and the bringing charges against EDP445 a little bit harder. But still, there has been some rumors that Bryant Moreland is now in jail, and this rumor was started by a random content creator on YouTube, but then it was picked up by one of his former content creator friends, a guy named Felipe. He claimed that he got a call from the Henderson Detention Center, and it was from Bryant Moreland, and he wanted to talk to him or whatever. This has turned out not to be true at all, because apparently in the past few days, and I know Sunny V2, the YouTube channel, has talked about this, but apparently EDP has a new Instagram account that is yet to be banned called the OG EDP445, which he called out Felipe for spreading this whole lie about him being in jail or whatever, and claiming that that Felipe still owed him $1,000. The Sunny V2 channel also talked about how it was weird that he said that the person who called him claimed that their name was Bryant Moreland, because if the changing the name thing had actually been true, why would he still call himself Bryant Moreland if he had already legally changed his name to another name? But anyway, that whole thing was just weird. And honestly, it is kind of hard. Like, I understand the impulse to sort of feel bad for this guy, because it is hard to watch a man seemingly fall down and then get repeatedly kicked by people everywhere he goes, because he's been driven out of like his Stir apartment complex and different hotels and all of these different jobs, working probably for minimum wage as well. Like Lyft and Uber Eats don't pay very well, but I sort of have to remind myself that I don't know if this has anything to do with his persona. Like, he has this really tough guy macho persona. It wasn't very tough when he was like talking to those two guys, the predator poacher and CC unit, because they sort of just pushed him around for like an hour. But anyways, he has this really tough persona. So he never apologized for any of the things that he did. He always sort of glossed over it or threatened the person who was trying to expose him, like he did with Cold Raven, or he would just say, oh, it's not a big deal, it's just my haters. Obviously, this needed to happen for him to see that, for him to stop these actions, because he doesn't have a platform to prey on underage girls anymore, because he would use the fact that they were his fans as an advantage to sort of lure them in. And imagine if this really was a minor, if this really was a 13-year-old girl, how horrific that would be. Because if these guys weren't like predator poachers and he had met with a 13-year-old in the parking lot of that hotel, which he claimed he was going to get cupcakes, which is the extent of his legacy right now, but if it really had been a 13-year-old girl, I feel like he definitely would have gone through with it and something horrific could have happened. Another thing that people have pointed out is that he must have not thought that it was such a big deal and he thought he could just bounce back onto another social media platform. Like he said in those text messages about, like, if she was wearing skimpy clothing, it's okay. He obviously didn't think that it was so wrong for him to do, because he thought that he could just bounce back on another platform. And I think that's why he wasn't conservative with the amount of money that, because a lot of people have pointed out that he must have made a ton of money, even if his videos were not monetized. He must have made a ton of money because he had 2 million subscribers on YouTube and he was doing all these cameos and stuff like that, but he blew through it, and apparently now he has a little more than, the last time it was reported, he had a little over $3,000 in his bank account. And so he must have thought that it's not a big deal, like I can just bounce back from this and nobody will care in a few months. Like, no, like, you're a sexual predator. Yeah, so I think it was well deserved, and obviously I don't condone the fact that people are like constantly hounding him and harassing him, but I think the fact that he has to live with this sort of reputation for the foreseeable future is honestly just his own doing. Like, you did the action, you weren't remorseful at all, and now you're reaping the consequences of that. So yeah, that's it for me today, guys. It's just a crazy story, and I'm sure a lot more will come out of it, because obviously he still has that Instagram account that hasn't been banned yet, and obviously he's still free, he's not in prison. So this is just crazy doing all this research. I didn't know about this guy until I saw that Moist Critical video on him, and then I started doing my research. The case is just crazy. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. That's it for me today. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.